you seen those strange rectangular cameras with a lens on both sides that a lot of people walk around with on a selfie stick, or sometimes they're mounted high above the back end of a car? Well, chances are what you're looking at is one of these, an Insta360 camera. And what it is, it's got two lenses, front and back, and they work together as they're both wide angle along with some special software to produce an almost seamless 360-degree image. This is the latest one. It's called the Insta360 X4, and it can record up to 8K in the 360 mode or 4K in the single lens mode. So I was given one to review and test for both my product and my car reviews, and most importantly, get some cool car shots with it. And I wanted to see how well I could self-shoot a review using just this camera. So after a few months of testing, I've learned a couple things, and I'll show you some of the tests now as to my conclusion with the camera, as it's changed actually over time. Now, this camera really depends a lot on accessories. Like I said, there's the selfie stick, but there's multiple selfie sticks. It can also take an adapter here that allows you to plug in different kinds of microphone inputs. There's these things here that you can attach and you Velcro on wind muffs so it gets rid of the wind noise. There's lens covers, there's just a lot of things. So if you just get the camera and just going to use it like that, you might not fully get what you need out of it. It's important to see your application with the camera and get the right accessories, and that's what I've done over time. So like I said, let's go see some of the tests. We'll start with, how does this camera work for a static stand-up like I'm doing right now? The problem is there's no manual zoom on the camera, so if I set it at the same distance, I can zoom in digitally as I just have, but if you see, it gets a little grainy and a little bit distorted. If I actually physically move the camera closer, now it's a clear image, but it's kind of getting warped around the edges. It is possible to put the camera into single lens mode, which makes it more like a traditional camera, but in this mode, you only shoot at 4K instead of 8K, and there's still a little bit of warping. Of course, the same problem is having the camera that far back. I have to zoom in and it gets a little pixelated. So once again, I can bring the camera right up close and get the whole view in, but it's a little warped. So this camera is really good for action shots, on-board shots, distance shots. But when it comes to close-in shots and stand-up shots, it's a little limited. So the best is to just use it like this. Put it on the selfie stick, hold it in front of your face, and if you want, you can walk, you can run, you can move, you can stand still. It gives a nice clear shot. There's also plenty of accessories you can get that can help stabilize the shot. I might get one soon that's sort of one of those gyro devices, so when I do this, it doesn't move at all. And I think that would be sort of the final piece I need to perfect my setup with the camera. It can also be used to sort of mimic some low-flying drone shots. So if you have a selfie stick, you attach it, and you can extend it. And see, already I get some height. But if I have a second selfie stick, which I do for the car mount, I attach that to this because they all can connect to each other. And now I have a selfie stick that goes this high. Another cool thing about having this camera is it can go places and give you good shots of things you normally wouldn't get with the regular camera. Like I can put it inside areas of the car, like right up inside the wheels and brakes. You can go underneath the car. You can look at some of the suspension components. Up front, you can like get it right in there and see like the tires and the suspension. It's great with engines too. This one's a little compact, but I could go down inside some of the engine bay and look at things like that. We've used it quite a bit with some off-road vehicles because there you're really trying to show off some of the suspension components. So again, it's a specialized shot, but if you add up enough specialized shots, then it starts to make sense to have something like this. So a great accessory for car people with the Insta360 is the triple suction car mount. What this does is it allows you to use the Insta360 to capture exterior shots at speed without anybody being out there. It has sort of a three-pronged triangle base that you attach a selfie stick to, and when it's filming, the selfie stick becomes invisible. You can still see the base on the car, but otherwise the camera's floating, and you can put it at different angles to get some cool different shots. So let's see what comes in the kit. So inside it comes nicely packaged and detailed. So you grab one of the suction mounts on one of these clips, and it just goes on, and this is sort of one of your main attachments for the base. And then you can tighten it up with this knob here, and then you can put it on either this way or that way, depending on which way you want to have the suction pump. So I'll just put one on, and I'll quickly get the other one on. So then this is how it'll look before you put it onto the car for the main part. And then if you want to get the last one of these, it clips on to the extendable arm, that's sort of the brace. It too just clips on and tightens, and now you're ready to set it up. So I'm going to set this up and show you how it looks. Now that the base is on, it's important to note the regular selfie stick that comes with the Insta360 doesn't really work with this too well. You need to get the action selfie stick. You can see the difference in their height, and also there's a big difference in how thick they are, which is important for these clamps to be able to make it around this. I'll install this now and then I'll put the camera on. So once it's installed, you just make sure everything's nice and tight, and then you're all ready to go. I have the camera installed. This spot is probably pretty safe, but if you want to put it down by the exhaust or the tires more, which I'm going to do, it's not a bad idea to use these. These are the high quality lens caps. These ones are designed to take quite a lot of abuse. They can take some stones and rocks right off of them. They're just good to protect the actual camera. The only thing is make sure you dust them really well before you put them on. Okay, lens caps on, camera secure, time to hit the track and see what shots we get. With car shots, I found it was a lot of trial and error and seeing what works best for you. My first couple shots, I wasn't quite getting the right angle, or I was getting too much of the fisheye distortion on some angles. Same with car to car. I was trying angled shots and it wasn't quite working how I wanted, but I learned if I mount it straight off the back and have someone follow me or just off to the side, the shots can look fantastic. Every time I do a car review, I'm learning more about how to use the camera and how to mount it and how to get the great shots. So it is very good at that job, which is the main purpose as to why I wanted one and to try it out. That said, if you want large picture shots, like maybe a racetrack as cars go by, or a multiple line of cars, it's not really suited for that. It needs to focus on a central image. If you're trying to get images that fit the entire screen, you're gonna get the distortion at the end, or you're gonna need to use the 4K single lens, which is better, but then you're not filming in the same quality. There are so many settings on both single lens and 360 that you can really adjust pretty much anything you want. Me just trying to get straight footage of a car or a product, I found if I just leave it on auto on 360 mode and I just simply have it on the highest setting, which is 8K, it provides the best shots I need. Now the thing about 8K is it makes the camera run real hot and you don't get too much battery life. You could probably get, if continuous use, under 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. And same thing goes for the memory card. It records massive files when you're in 360 mode. So even with the memory card it comes with, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, depends on how much detail you're shooting. And then that massive file size is another thing you need to consider when uploading it to your computer. I'm talking like less than an hour of footage is easily over 150 gigabytes. So once you get on your computer, there is an Insta360 editing software, and that allows you to do a lot of things where you can see the shot, perfect the zoom in, the zoom out, the angle. You can have the camera pan anytime you want it. It can track things, lots of cool things. And that's why the file size is so big, because it's captured the full 360. Once you sort of have the segment you want, you save it, and that becomes just a regular video file that's much more smaller in size and controllable, and then you can delete the raw footage. So just something to be aware of, that you need to have a lot of space on your computer if you plan to do a lot of filming and editing. I've learned to get around this, keep a good like 200 gigabytes or so empty, and it's worked pretty well for me. That said, I wish the file sizes were smaller. I mean, it is hard to work with such massive files, and importing and processing, it all takes time. I mean, it's the price you pay to have this 8K full 360 video, but maybe there's a way to still get the great quality on a smaller size down the road. Maybe that'll be something with the X5. But I'll take the size and the wait times to get the clarity, because when I first started using the camera, I wasn't a huge fan of it outside of getting some cool car shots, because I hadn't learned about distance you need to record and the little tips and tricks to get the footage you want. Can this be someone's pure single camera? I mean, it depends on what you're using it for. A lot of people that create YouTube videos, probably, especially if they're just traveling, adventuring, walking around. If you're trying to set up a permanent fixture camera somewhere, there's probably a better choice. This could be a good secondary camera. That's sort of how I'm using it. I'm using it in combination, where I have one to do the more static shots, and this is for all the action shots and for the travel shots. So the Insta360 X4 isn't really that gimmicky. There is use for it, and it does allow me to use it for more functions than a standard camera, so it's almost like I've got multiple cameras in one. Is it the end-all single camera? Probably not, but there is a lot I can use it for in my role that I couldn't use a regular camera, so it all depends on what you need it for. Think of your intended shots and the purpose of the camera, and it might be right for you. It is for me, and like I said, I plan to get a couple more accessories and keep using it because it's getting some shots that I couldn't do otherwise on my own. Okay, bottom line, what's my final verdict on the camera? Well, it all comes down to what you need it for. If you're a traveler that makes videos or blogs and needs to pack and travel light, this is gonna be perfect for that. Someone like me that needs it for certain shots that I can't really get by myself with a regular camera, again, it has lots of use. So it's something that is designed to do certain things and excels at doing those sort of things. If you don't need it for those things, this probably isn't the camera for you. Otherwise, I'm very happy with the Insta360 X4.